Welcome back to episode 124 of Prince and Barty, greatest sports show in the world. What's going on, man?
We here, man. We talking sports. I feel like that song that they play all the time in the holidays. It's the most wonderful time of the year. You know, Barty loves football season. Love football season like Christmas. So I'm excited.
Yes, sir, man. Let's get right into it, man. Uncle Denzel Washington is tired of you mother suckers, man. He out here talking like we love Denzel to talk, man. See, for me, it must be a blessing getting older, man. Getting in your late 60s, 70s to 80s, because you really don't care no more. You say what's on your mind, say what's on your heart. So, Denzel's from his new movie with Spike Lee, Highest to Lowest. That's one of the greatest duos in movie film history, right? He was on First Take. He's on different media platforms, but he had a great quote. I want to read the quote for you because I don't want to get our uncle mad at us. So basically, Denzel said this: everybody's got an opinion. In fact, we live in a world of opinionaires. Washington said, that's what I call the opinionaires. They're on all the shows, a bunch of guys, the couples that have played, most of them who haven't played, but have an opinion about what something should be when they haven't done it. Those who can do, those who can't talk. Those who can do, those who can't talk. Those who can. So Denzel is just tired of he's defending the athlete here, man, where I don't know if that was a shot at sports media in general. We know Denzel's a big sports fan, courtside at Laker game, Knicks games. He got game. You know what I mean? So Denzel's a big sports guy. What do you think about Uncle Denzel, man, and him just tired of just people just giving out opinions, man, for clickbait?
Well, I know you don't know this, and so I'm gonna tell you. Part of his problem is he's a Cowboys fan. So
Mhm.
that's probably why he's so upset because everybody always has something to say about his Cowboys. He is a Knicks fan, he is a Lakers fan, but he is a big time Dallas Cowboys fan. And so right now he's probably tired of people talking about his Cowboys. And rightfully so. If it's your team, you're gonna want people not to talk about your team or whatever. And there's a lot of people who have so much to say. My opinion is this is part of the game, man. You're gonna have people on TV talk. That's why people watch Skip. That's why people watch Stephen A. Even though, of course, people now are into the new media, which is us. But people love to talk about the negativity. That's just what they like to do. And so Denzel, for what he's saying, no, not a knock at all. I think it's good that he's defending his people. You know what I mean? He's defending these sports stars. That's good that he's doing that. But my mindset is this: listen, if there's anybody he needs to talk about, it's his owner, because Jerry Jones is a bum.
He was calling out Jerry Jones too on First Take, man. Yeah, I never looked at it from that aspect. Denzel just an angry Cowboys fan,
Yep, that's
a
it.
disgruntled fan. But nah,
Hmm.
but I think it's both ways. Like, obviously, I played Division I sports and college basketball and have a degree in journalism. You are a journalist, that study journalism, know sports probably better than anybody I know. So I agree you have to be qualified in some realm, right? So I think a lot of people might think, oh, we just started a sports podcast. No, we qualified
Hmm.
in multiple categories. So I think maybe he's speaking to that where it's like, I'm gonna start a sports podcast and I'm gonna just talk trash. You know what I mean? So I feel him in that. You got to be qualified in what you're talking about and what you're doing. So I'm with Denzel on that. I know your Super Bowl was happened the other day, man. Fantasy football, fantasy draft happened. We in
Hmm.
wing, man. So talk to us about the winners and losers of fantasy football in the state.
Well, of course, we got the Prince and Barty gauntlet that's going on, and it's going very well. 8 teams. The winner gets a good chunk of money and a championship ring. Yesterday was interesting, man, because the way the draft went, some guys they didn't draft very smart. Some guys they did draft smart. But the winners and losers, big hit Dom, he had a good draft. My brother had a good draft, and yours truly had a good draft, man. I was able to pick up Josh Allen, Derrick Henry, Ashton Genty.
Ooh.
Who defensively, I got Micah Parsons. I got Zach Bond from the Eagles. I got Jalen Carter from the Eagles. I got Abdul Carter. I
Oh,
also
so
got
so you cheated. I got you. You cheated.
Nah, man. You know what it is? So the thing is this: these guys, when they draft, a lot of people pick. So there's some guys who play in the league that they just pick players from their teams. We got one guy that he just was picking a whole bunch of Atlanta Falcons players. We had another guy that he was just picking offense. So he picked all the best offensive players and he didn't pick any defense. So on his team, if you see his team, you'll be like, man, he got the best team. He got the two best projected fantasy running backs. He picked Bijan Robinson and Saquon Barkley, and he had Jamar Chase all on one team. But you have to remember, you have to offense and defense, offense and defense. You just can't go one way. So when these guys keep making missed picks, I make sure I have my draft book together. I always keep my draft book, and then you just go ahead and do it. I mean, you got to do your research, man. It's just like any general manager or any head coach. You got to do your research on the players that you're drafting. And the guy who I'm most excited about to see is Genty and Abdul Carter. Those two, I'm happy that I was able to pick both of them up. And I'm happy for the squad. Period. The only thing I needed more, I think, and then when I looked at the report, I don't have a lot of depth at wide receiver. In this league, it's only a one wide receiver league, but I only have Puka Nacua, so I may have to eventually go to the waiver wire and pick somebody up.
Nah, for sure, man. But do you think it's an unfair advantage because you are one half of the greatest sports show in the universe, and so you have insider knowledge, insider trading secrets. So why would anybody want to even? How is that even fair for you to be even in that league? Even though it's our league, Prince of Barty Gauntlet, it's going to be bigger next year, bigger money, bigger payouts. Man, stay tuned for next season. But what kind of advantage do you have actually knowing the game from the depth chart and where somebody's just in there just playing for fun?
Man, well, as you know me so long, Prince. One, of course, the knowledge of the sports is another, but then also people don't know that my father was a football head coach, and my mom, because football was so physical, she never wanted me to play. But I could have probably played fullback because my dad he used to train me all the time. But because my mom was like the games was on the same days as church, that's why I never really played. So I've always had a passion for the NFL. NFL has been my passion. We both grew up around the time of Lawrence Taylor being on the Giants and Reggie White being on the Eagles. And so when you watch those years of the NFL, we have years vested in watching the National Football League. And so when you got years vested, it's experience. Experience knowing the game, watching the game, seeing Joe Montana before you saw Brady, seeing Jerry Rice before you saw Randy, seeing Barry Sanders before you saw Saquon, seeing Michael Vick before you saw Lamar Jackson. You just know the game and you know who to pick. And I mean, when you know who to pick and what's going on, you're just deadly. Cats don't have a chance.
There it is, man. So stay tuned with us for all things fantasy. Barty's your guy. We're gonna be giving you tips and tricks for this fantasy season. It's gonna be a fun one, man. Look out for us. But let's stay in the NFL, man. Dylan Gabriel, man. He raised a lot of eyebrows. Obviously, let's get to the stats of it all. 13 of 18, 143 yards, 2 turnovers. A lot of people was like, hey, man, Shador showed out. It's a quarterback competition over there in Cleveland, and he didn't really do nothing, man. But that's not what really stood out. What stood out was his after game presser. He pretty much said there's entertainers and there's competitors. So obviously the internet went crazy thinking he's taking a personal shot at Shador. And then he later walked back those comments. Now, for me, if I'm Dylan Gabriel, I'm being low, man. I feel like if I'm the Browns, I'm talking to him like, listen, man, we drafted you ahead of Shador. Clearly, Shador is better than Dylan Gabriel. That's what we know, right? Everybody in the Browns organization is in an uncomfortable position because you gotta play the guy that you drafted ahead of your 5th round pick, but your 5th round pick is better. You got obviously Flacco's there, is probably gonna be the starter. Pickett is hurt. So it's just that quarterback room's in shambles. What do you make about Dylan Gabriel and that whole quarterback situation right now? And Shador's hurt, obviously, with the oblique injury.
You got two young guys vying for a position. And, it's going to be a battle no matter what. So he should have taken the high road and not said anything at the media conference. But I'll say this, man, you got players, former players, everybody is rooting for the young man in Shador. And so Dylan probably is feeling like in his mind, like, well, what about me? And he had to step up and speak for himself. With that team, even though Shador is who he is, it's preseason. I still think whoever starts, they're in trouble. Because next to our division, the AFC East, the AFC North is the hardest division in the NFL. You have a division with great sackers, great defense. Some of the greatest pressures come from all these teams. And the only thing that Shador or Dylan has going for them really is what? Myles Garrett being a great sacker. Your offensive line's not that good. Nick Chubb is coming off an injury. You drafted another running back. Everything is in shambles. I really think that even though we saw such a great performance from Shador, I don't think that it's going to be a great season for Shador and all these other guys.
No, I agree, man. Let's just stay with the Sanders family. There's rumors that Shiloh Sanders, obviously he plays safety for the Bucks. They say he might be on a practice squad, man. You know, he's the fourth string safety so far on the depth chart. And we know obviously Shador is fighting for his life too. So Shiloh and Shador are fighting hard in NFL to make a roster almost. Out of both brothers, who do you think is going to have the better career and why?
At first, I predicted Shiloh, but after I see what Shador has done and where he's going with it, I still have to go with Shador. It just depends on him and how many starts he gets and how long he'll be able to play. Right now, it's looking like Shador because he looks like the best quarterback in the camp. And so now we just got to see if he can lead the Cleveland Browns to a playoff position, then we definitely have a conversation. But with the Bucks and how the Bucks run their team and the fact that Todd Bowles is a defensive coach, it's going to be very hard for Shiloh to make a squad because he's a defensive mind. You know, I hope that he gets on the roster. He can possibly, if not, make special teams and be a great tackler. He could be a gunner on special teams and tackle. But for right now, if Shiloh's on the practice squad and Shador is the third in the depth charts. Well, I think he'll be third by season starts. Only reason why I'm saying that is because I just don't think that you're gonna put Kenny Pickett over him. I was looking at the Eagles the other day, not to change the subject, but we got rid of Kenny Pickett because of Tanner McKee and how good he looks as the backup. And so Kenny Pickett was a bum in Pittsburgh, and yeah, he had two starts for us when towards the end of the season. And he won some games, but at the end of the day, when you look at the situation, Shador will be the third, at least third. I wouldn't be surprised if he even moves to second string.
No,
Because what we're going to see too is, remember, they still have to do their cuts before the season starts. And so we've already wrapped up week 3 of preseason. Now we move on to week 2, preseason. Now we're moving on to week 3. And you know, that's when they cut the rosters down so that they can make sure that they make the regular mandate NFL rosters. So it's going to be interesting to see who gets cut. That's the thing that could affect Dylan Gabriel, and one of their quarterbacks is going to get cut. Just I don't know if all, because remember they have 4 in that on their team, but one of their quarterbacks will definitely get cut. And we know it. The 2 that definitely won't get cut is Shador and the starter because he's making all that money, and Deshaun Watson.
for sure, man. I'm gonna read some names to you, man. Let me know if they sound familiar, man. AJ Brown, Jahan Dotson, John Metchie III, Devontae Smith, Johnny Wilson. The receiver room in Philadelphia is looking scary, man. What do you think about, the addition you guys traded for John Metchie III, former teammate of Devontae? So what do you think, man? What do you think about the wide receiver room in Philadelphia?
The wide receiver room in Philly is crazy. I think that the beauty of this year is because the weapons that Jalen has, we could possibly saying that he's going to be another MVP candidate. I was looking at something in the fantasy book, and I want to read this real quick because it was talking about strength of schedule and quarterbacks. It says the Eagles opened up 2025 with a highly favorable pass coverage schedule that nets Philly a 100 grade weeks 1 through 5. The schedule is not favorable after that, but the early season value may be enough warranted to take Jalen Hurts among the top 3 at the quarterback position. Now, they have the easiest strength of schedule for the first 5 games. You name the wide receiver room. Number 41 is looking like a beast. They're comparing him to Debo in his prime. That we now have a Debo Samuels. So now you have someone like Debo. You have John Metchie III. You have the 2-star receivers. And you still have Goddard. The thing that's crazy is you cannot do anything with Saquon. There's nothing you can do with Saquon. The Eagles are like pick your poison. It's kind of like Kobe and Shaq in their prime. You knew Shaq was going to get his. That's Saquon. So Kobe got to do what he got to do. So the question is now, can Jalen be a 4,000-yard passer? Because we know he's going to get the tush push going. And to find out that there was no structural damage with Dickerson, that means he's coming back. The NFL is in trouble, man. There's nobody really who can stop the offense of the Eagles. The Eagles, and then the Ravens is number two, but A1 is the Eagles, AB is the Ravens. But even when you look at the Ravens, what makes them less than the Eagles is their wide receiver room. Their best wide receiver, of course, is Zay Flowers, but their second wide receiver has bum wheels because he's old, and that's DeAndre Hopkins. So it's still going to be a good year for the Ravens. But that Eagles receiving core, when you name those players, you know exactly what I think about, Prince. The greatest show on turf. Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, Ricky Prohl. They had great receivers, and it just made everything easy for Kurt Warner. And then you have Marshall Faulk with the running back. The Eagles are a sure favorite, and the only teams I really believe that can beat the Eagles, that can beat them, is the Ravens and the Chiefs. Other than that, if Buffalo shows up, they don't have enough. They're too small on the defensive side. The Ravens defensively can match with the Eagles. The Chiefs offensively, if that offensive line can hold up, because everybody keeps talking about how great of a draft they had with what they picked up at the guard position. It still remains to be seen. We haven't seen Patty too much in preseason, and we're going to see what happens when we go into the season. But if Patty is having issues in the passing game as far as protection, then it's all for the Ravens this year.
For sure, man. I don't know what's going on in the NFL, but everybody's suing the NFL and everybody's winning. So Brian Flores got a win against the NFL. You know, he took the NFL to arbitration as far as unfair treatment of African American and minority coaches. You know, we got the Rooney Rule in place, but there's speculation that people just having kind of blind interviews and it's not real. You know, they just kind of meeting with you to meet the quota, but they're not really being seriously considered for the position. You know, the famous situation where Bill Belichick texts Flores, congratulations, but he really meant to text Brian Daboll of my Giants. So it was like, yo, imagine how awkward that was. So, I mean, we both black, man. We know it's a lot of BS though with the NFL, man, with a predominantly African-American league, that there's not many of us as far as black coaches and black staff members in the league, man. So what do you think about Brian Flores? I mean, this is a major situation because what you don't want is you don't want politicians getting involved and making this. You know, NFL likes to keep their stuff in-house. It doesn't like to politicize things. Like you saw that with Colin Kaepernick and things of that. So what do you think about Brian Flores getting this big win?
It's good, man. We normally get used to seeing the situation where Goliath always wins the fight in real life. You know, when you look at the Bible says David beat Goliath with the help of the Lord. But when you look at the NFL, which is the Goliath, and Brian Flores, which is the David, I'm happy that David actually won this one because, number one, Brian Flores is a good coach. We can't penalize him for what happened in Miami. I hate to say this because we live in Florida, but me and you know this more than anybody, and we're NFC East. That's where we are. You're Giants, I'm Eagles, but the worst ownership in the NFL is the Miami Dolphins. The way they run their team, the way they do everything. And I think Flores was a better mind than the coach that they currently have now because he was only one and done. Flores had the guys actually ready to play, and there was discipline. And you need a disciplinarian in the NFL. Some of the greatest coaches were disciplinarians. Belichick was a disciplinarian. Parcells. Listen, a lot of people fear Lawrence Taylor. A lot of people fear Lawrence Taylor, but here's one thing people don't realize. Lawrence Taylor feared Bill Parcells. He didn't play when he came to Parcells. He knew who Parcells was. And that's the type of coaching mindset we need in the NFL is, you know, we're seeing now the buddy coach in Andy Reid, and the buddy coach in Nick Sirianni. But at the end of the day, you know who is the right coach. And so for Flores to get what he's gotten is big time, man. I'm happy for him. Much deserving that he won this case. For the NFL, they have to do better by the African-American coaches. I mean, we do have some great African-American coaches who are still in the game, but we've let a lot of bums come back in the league who don't even win, you know? And so for him to actually win this case, I'm happy for him. Shout out to him. And I hope that he gets another job.
No, for sure. If he don't get another job, he about to get paid. We know that. They're gonna give him a bag and tell him to probably go with, hey,
big bag.
something better than nothing. But another L for the NFL. John Gruden. So obviously, John Gruden got caught up with them racist emails. Now, I think he a piece of shit for them emails as somebody black, whatever. But at the same time, your rights is violated. Should nobody be going through your emails? You don't know what's in anybody emails. Your neighbor could be racist. You probably racist. So I'm not judging him for that, but just the privacy of it all, right? Let's go through every owner emails. You're not gonna like what you see. So John Gruden won that case as well against the NFL. So Chucky may be back on the NFL sideline, man. So I was thinking, what if John Gruden went to the Dolphins? What would that look like? He could change almost like a Sean Payton went to the Broncos, changed the culture over there. What does a John Gruden look like in today's NFL? And how could he be what team is best useful for him?
You know, the thing that I don't ever understood about certain things in sports, Prince, and we have players who their character is just as bad as John Gruden. That the things that they do on the sidelines, the things that they do, they're womanizers, they might beat on women, they do all
Right.
kind of stuff. But we praise the players for who they are on the field
Right.
or on the court. Why can't we do that with the head coaches?
That's real.
Gruden, listen, at the end of the day, Gruden, to me, this is just to me, top 10 or maybe top 11 head coach all time. He's a great head coach, man. He is a great head coach. The thing that would have to happen if he did go to Miami is that the owner of the Dolphins would have to take his hand off the wheel, because that's the only issue with a lot of teams. I think the Dolphins and the Cowboys have the same issue. Their ownership, their GMs, they're bumps and they don't know what they're doing. Yes, they've been probably doing this for a long time, but you know, you got to get hip with the times. You know it as much as I do. You got to get hip with the times. You got to understand the players. The things have changed. The NFL is not the same. This is not 1975 NFL. This is 2025 National Football League. And Gruden coming in there can change a whole lot. I think that, which I don't know he would do it, but I think he should be a coordinator first. If he would came in and been a coordinator under the coach there, because I think the coach for the Dolphins is good, but he is an offensive coordinator. He doesn't know defense, he doesn't know special teams, but he knows how to get people open and how to spread the offense. That's the same way how I feel about the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. I think the head coach of the 49ers is a great offensive coordinator, but he's not a great leader of men, and that's why he can't never win the big game. Some guys are coordinators, others are coaches. I think Gruden is a great head coach, but bring him back slowly and then move him up to head coach.
No, I agree, man. Let's go through some quick stuff right now, man. They actually no, you know what? Let's get into the shout out to my boy George again, man. He actually want us to talk about this. So obviously, the UFC and Paramount came to a deal where they're pretty much ending the pay-per-view model, you know. And what's interesting about the pay-per-view model is it made a lot of people rich. That's how Floyd really got rich. Pacquiao got rich that way. Conor McGregor, a lot of like the pantheon fighters of mixed martial arts and combat sports got rich off pay-per-view buys. That's how, you know, how these guys ate. You know, they made their purse even bigger. But you also see with the Crawford and Canelo fight, it's going to be streamed on Netflix. So if you have a Netflix account, you're watching that for free. What do you think about the new business model? I know as fans, it helps us, but like think of the athlete where you kind of getting what they give you now, where you're not in the business of it anymore. You're kind of just like a hired gun now. You know, it's back to kind of being a worker instead of like a boss and a partner.
I think that is definitely good, but you know, when you look at the business side of what's going on with mixed martial arts, UFC, and everything of that nature, the competitive nature of what's going on in the sports itself, boxing is now back to being the number one thing that people want to watch. So now that's back to that. They need a deal, and they got the deal that can keep them competitive with that. Now we know everything came from out of boxing. But when you really look at it with the names that we have in boxing, that's the only thing I think about UFC and mixed martial arts. We don't have the same big names. You know, Bones Jones is now getting old. All the guys are getting old. Um, Conor McGregor is now in acting. He's more of an actor now, doing movies than he is actually a fighter. And then he wants to also do boxing. So when you look at everything that's going on with the sport, the draw always is not necessarily the sport. The draw is the names in the sport. And when you look at the names in boxing, opposed to the names that's in mixed martial arts or UFC, it's no win. There's no win.
No, I agree, man. You know me in NFL mode, but let's just go through some quick NBA stories that caught my eye. First thing, man, Luka Magic got a knee contusion, got hurt over there, man. Like, what do you think about, you sign a contract over here in the NBA, but obviously you're still playing for your home country. There was a lot of issues with Joel Embiid with that, where he over there playing USA basketball, the Sixers getting a terrible version of them. What do you think about these guys playing overseas and kind of forgetting their contract over here?
Well, I mean, the thing with the whole situation is this: if it was the Olympics, a lot of people wouldn't have a problem with it. So even though they're playing for their home team, like if it was for the United States, NBA would never say anything. So my mindset is this: I think that they should play, but I think that they should be on a minutes restriction. No matter how good they are, they should still be on a minutes restriction. They shouldn't play 40 minutes. They should probably be in there for maybe about 25 to 30 minutes because they are needed and they're under contract with the Los Angeles Lakers or with the Philadelphia 76ers. I mean, when you look at Joel Embiid, I never would have signed off on it because of his injury history. Because the more games he plays, the more injured he is. Luka Magic, no. Luka's been playing since a little boy. I mean, we've watched Luka play through injury. He played through injury last year with the Lakers. He played through injury the year before with the Dallas Mavericks. Luka is just bar none that guy, and he even got in shape. I mean, listen, he followed the regimen, probably was working out with Bron, did his thing, and he looked like he in better shape than LeBron James. So even though it was just a knee contusion, he'll be fine by the regular start of the season. It's going to be interesting to see how they run him now for the Sylvanian team because they need to pull him back a little bit so that he doesn't get injured.
Nah, for sure, man. Yeah, they got to put some kind of language in the contract. That's above my pay grade for how they could protect themselves. But the other side of that is Laurie Marketing, man. He's killing over there, man. 121 points in 3 games, averaging 40.3, 69% from the field, 54% from 3-point land. Obviously, Marketing is a great player over here in the NBA, but is he going to have an NBA? Well, the better question is, does the NBA hold some of these guys back? Because you see what imagine if an NBA coach gave him the keys to play like a Luka, and he's supposed to be doing that in the league with less defense.
That's the coaching. That's not the NBA. That's the coaching of Utah or wherever he plays. The coaching itself is the reason why his total is down. When you look at where he's playing, they know how great he is. The thing is, you got to remember, we remember this. We knew who Manu Ginobili was because how they played him. But when he went to the Spurs, he was coming off the bench. And that's how the NBA does a lot of these players. We have to realize we're in an era now where the best players, even I hate to say it, the best players that are groomed right now are coming from overseas. That's just what it is. The farm from overseas, and shout out to Greg Popovich because he's the one that pushed more for it. And you've seen how many overseas players he has, from Boris Diaw to Tony Parker to Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan being from the Virgin Islands, even though he played at Wake Forest. There is a lot of great talent overseas.
Nah, for sure, man. Let's keep it moving, man. A lot of young players, they want they just do. What's your favorite quote? I want my damn respect. Rob want your favorite bro.
Yep.
But Austin Reaves and Jonathan Kuminga want their respect. So it's reported that Austin Reaves wants to be paid like Tyler Hero, and Kuminga sees himself as a Scotty Barnes, Cade Cunningham type player. Now, Tyler Hero's making 4 years, $130 million. Now, I love Austin Reaves as a Lake Show fan, but I think he got exposed defensively because we know Braun don't really play that much D at this point in his life. Luka, we'll see. He on Ozempic now. We'll see if he can shuffle the feet. Not with his knee right now. So, as a GM, are you paying Austin Reaves $130 million?
Not with the Lakers.
That's like 32
Not with the
a
Lakers.
year. It's like almost $33 million a year.
Where the NBA is set up, a lot of people are overpaid. Does he deserve it for what he does for the Lakers? He's an offensive specialist for the Lakers. He is a great offensive player, very great. I will probably put him up there, maybe in the NBA top 25 great offensive players. But 33 million is a lot of money, and you know how the NBA is, especially the Lakers. The Lakers want you to win a championship. That's the motto. They don't look at players. They look at banners. Kobe Bryant was great. Magic Johnson was great. LeBron James was great. But I've learned one thing about the Lakers. They care about banners. They love their players, but they love their banners even more. And so he has to understand that. Yeah, this is the new NBA and the players are supposed to get their money, and everybody wants their money. I mean, Jerry Maguire, show me the money. But at the end of the day, listen, man, it's about banners, buddy. And right now, you versus what's going on in OKC, it just doesn't match. You're not Luke Dort. You're not Williams.
Yeah.
You're definitely not Shea. I mean, the seventh best man on OKC plays better defense than Austin Reeves.
Yeah.
So if he wants his money, he has to start playing better defense. That's my thing. The Lakers do have the money to pay him, but we need defense right now.
Yeah.
Three of our top players, actually four, are terrible against defense.
No,
DeAndre Ayton, LeBron. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, my bad. I'm just saying I'm trying to get through it. I agree with you because 130 million to top of Austin Reeves, and you need defense. As a GM, he might could deserve it, but not with the Lakers, man. But as we wrap up, man, this episode 124, man, we appreciate y'all listening, watching YouTube. Make sure you follow us. Everything we doing, more content to come. We appreciate y'all, man. Prince and Barty.